I think the big a difficulty people have is kind of the nighttime eating. Like they've had the meal, and it's related as well to your routine. And if you're going to bed late, some people go to bed really, really late, and so they've had dinner at 7 o'clock or something, and then it gets to 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night, and they go, I need a snack, and then that's when they raid the fridge. We're like, okay, well, how about you go to bed? I'm being kind of silly because everyone's got, but it's like, okay, let's figure out an alternative to the Haagen-Dazs or the mozzarella sticks that you normally hit, and then let's try and build another routine in, because I also read a huge amount about habits and how the brain works on habits, but it's really quick to form a habit, but it can be quick to form a new habit as well, right? Yeah. And so rather than saying no the whole time, you just figure out, you recognize the trigger. You still want to give a reward, because if you just deny the whole time, you'll go crazy. But you just change the pathway, right? So instead of the reward being something sweet, it might be...
Welcome, everyone, to the Hol-Truth Podcast with Jon Levine. We are here with Dr. Nadja Pinnavaia. Dr. Nadja Pinnavaia has an undergraduate degree in chemistry from King's College, London, and a PhD in quantum chemistry from St. Catharines College, Cambridge. Prior to founding Euphebe, Nadia was a managing director at Goldman Sachs in London. It was during this time that she came to understand how today's modern diet was impacting our health, which led her to founding Euphebe. She holds a certificate in culinary nutrition from the Natural Gourmet Institute. And without further ado, here she is, Dr. Nadja Pinnavaia. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm well. Thank you, Jon. What a lovely introduction. Thank you so much for having me back, and it's lovely to see you again. Sounds very geeky.
That's not geeky at all. You're awesome. And welcome back.
Thank you. It's lovely to be back. It's lovely to see you again.
Yeah, I saw you, 2 weeks ago now?
That's right.
We had a little 15-minute powwow. And
that's right, at the We Forum conference.
At the We Forum conference. And your talk was on the biochemistry. It's the biochemistry, stupid. That's what it was,
That's right. I was basically saying it's not our fault. It's all about our biochemistry.
It's not our fault.
We're off the hook.
So we're going to talk about Euphebe, which you started, which is a great company. But first, I want to get into the biochemistry.
Okay.
So your talk at We Forum was it's the biochemistry stupid. What does that mean exactly?
Well, the talk was about that it's conventional advice about feeling good, losing weight, being fit is largely centered on if you eat too much, you're going to get sick, and so eat less and move more. And that conventional thinking is flawed because, as you read in the bio, when I discovered about today's modern diet, I discovered that biochemistry is driving our behavior, and our behavior drives what we put into our mouths, right? And whether we decide to eat more or get ourselves to the gym. And so what I discovered is today's modern diet that's filled with added sugar, a lot of refined grains, not a huge amount of natural fiber, not a huge amount of true nutrition, is spiking our insulin, which is a hormone. And insulin's role is to store fat. And then because we're storing all of this energy as fat, then actually we're releasing more hormones. Our biochemistry is driving us to release more hormones, which is Graylien, is the hunger hormone. So the food that we're eating, instead of filling us up, is actually making us more and more hungry. And so, ironically, we eat more and then we want to eat more, which means that eat less and move more is doomed for failure. So it's not our fault. It's not as if we're weak-willed. What the talk was about is let's understand that, and then kind of let's switch what we eat rather than just eat less where it's doomed for failure.
Eat nutrient-dense foods, basically.
Yeah, so it's really about the insulin. We've gone kind of straight into the biochemistry here. It's all about the insulin because insulin's role is to take glucose and energy out of the blood. So if we are eating food that doesn't have a huge amount of insulin provoking, it actually keeps us full for a longer time. And what are those types of foods? They're nutrient-dense foods, as you said. It's whole grains, it's greens and beans, and it's all
Right.
of those things. So it's switching over to more whole grains, less refined grains, less sugar, and more greens and beans. Our mum was right. It's so simple.
Greens and beans.
Eat your greens and beans.
And
There was a
fruit.
reason.
And fruit.
And some fruit as well.
Yeah, but it's so hard these days because we're so bombarded with everything's fast-paced, fast food, grab this, grab that. And it gets easy to, like, lose our palate. Like, our palate doesn't even, like, once you get rid of all the junk and the processed foods and the processed and the sugar.
That's right.
You don't even crave it anymore.
Well,
it's amazing.
That's exactly what the talk was about, right? So the talk is that if we're eating those foods, that we have a dependency to them. Because
they're addictive.
They're addictive.
They really are.
They are addictive because of that insulin cycle, right? We call that the crappy food cycle. Because if you're spiking your insulin, then you're storing it in absence of the fiber and the nutrients. Your brain actually says eat more.
Now, how do you spike your insulin, though?
You spike insulin by consuming things that are sweet, that have that pleasurable kind of sweet taste, and then.
But not fruit. You're talking about like processed.
Well, fruit. So fruit does spike your insulin. However, fruit in its natural form, it comes with fiber.
Right.
And so when we consume glucose and fructose, sugar and the fiber, it dampens that insulin hit. So it slows it down. So you're still getting an insulin hit. But it's things like the bagel, like even the whole wheat bread, the Pepperidge Farm, the one that kind of melts in your mouth, not the grainy one that you have to keep chewing, the one that you just have a quick bite and it's really
not
soft.
supposed to melt in your mouth.
It's not supposed to melt. True bread is not meant to melt. Meant to melt in your mouth. You can even taste it, right? When you taste something that kind of melts away so quickly, it goes straight into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
And so you've got to take the glucose out of the bloodstream. And that's when it's just getting stored. And that's when the brain is actually saying, but I'm hungry. Give me more because I've stored it. I'm not using it.
Right.
And that's the biochemistry driving the behavior. So the goal is to, rather than starve yourself, because if you think about if your brain's already telling you to eat more and then you're saying, oh, I should eat less, it's doomed for failure, as we know, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because you have those like, oh, I'm dieting, and I'm really hungry. And then you go, I was about to use an expletive word, but like, oh gosh, I've fallen off the wagon.
You can.
Can I say fuck it?
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
You could say fuck it with the mullet on. You want to put the mullet on?
Put the mullet on.
Let's put the mullet on.
It's my British.
We have a
profane-
mullet in the studio.
I'm not sure.
If you say fuck it with the mullet, that's
There we go.
So what were you saying again?
I was saying that if you're really hungry, and then your brain is telling you to eat more, chances are you're going to fall off the wagon.
Yo, fuck it.
And fuck it, and then you're going to eat, right? You are. You may even last like 3 or 4 days or 5 days, and then you just your brain takes over because it's the primitive. So you can't take me seriously with this
I take you very seriously. You know your stuff. You know what you're talking about.
And so the brain takes over and it says, just eat, and that breaks into that cycle, which is also a psychological cycle of why is it so hard? Why am I a failure? And you're not. And that was the point of my talk. It's not our fault. But once we understand that the brain is driving our behavior, then we can begin to isolate. You can say, all right, if I give the brain the food that it needs, that it then changes the voice in my head, I'm not going to be hungry. I'm going to be satiated. And so this is going to be easy. And that craving voice that you were saying, the palate thing, goes away. But it's real. At the beginning, it's real. It's a craving voice.
No, it is. It is. And I've been there. But to your point, the brain drives everything. So what's amazing is there's this vicious cycle. And it's easier said than done. But you have we need to sleep. We need to eat.
That's right.
We need to exercise. We need to think throughout the day. And we need relationships. But what I was taught at IIN is that primary nutrition, your relationships, overrides secondary nutrition. So being that if you're in a fight with your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or whatever it may be, and you're in distress, you're more likely to reach for bad food, fast food. You're not, you know what I mean? Your sleep is going to be off.
Right.
Maybe you're going to over exercise.
Absolutely.
Maybe you won't exercise. You'll sit on the couch and eat potato chips.
Yeah.
But it's your brain, it's your relationship, the primary nutrition that kind of throws it off.
That's right. That's right. And actually, so that was all part of this kind of learning process, this journey that I went through in this, year and a bit before founding Euphebe, which was understanding the biochemistry of our brain. And for me, the kernel was understanding kind of the addiction and the dependency.
Yeah.
And I drew it back to, in my foolish 20s, I started smoking.
You're still in your 20s. What are you talking
late
about?
20s now.
Late
It must
20s?
be like late 20s. But, I lost my father at a very early age. He died at age 45. I was 10. And in part anticipated by smoking, as many people did, back in those days.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. And so I grew up being a fervent anti-smoker until age 21. I'm in my finals and my idiot boyfriend gets me into smoking, which I thought was quite a good idea at the time. And I smoked like a trooper for a good 8 to 10 years. And at that same time, sorry for that,
Like a trooper.
like a trooper.
A lot of cigarettes.
Yeah, a lot of cigarettes, especially at night.
I smoked like a trooper too.
Did you?
Yeah. I've always been an athlete. I've always been into health and wellness, and I smoke too.
So, and it's right? It's not smart. And the smoker knows that smoking's bad for you. They know that at some point they've got a high chance to get cancer. But that rational knowledge is not enough to overrule the addictive voice, right? So back to the brain. When we get addicted, whether it's nicotine, whether it's sugar, whether it's opioid, or whatever is the substance of choice, the basal is called the primal part of the brain, the basal ganglia, which controls our desire to eat, to reproduce, all the things that you were just saying.
Yeah.
Is activated by the dopamine. And so that is the primal voice that's saying to you, do it, whether it's to procreate or whether it's to pick up the cigarette. It will tell you anything to get the next hit, right? But then we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the sanity part, which says, no, you can't just take off your clothes right in the middle of the street because you feel like you want to, or...
Well, then why did you do that? I just saw you in the middle of the street doing cartwheels naked.
Oh, it was
that wasn't you?
No, that was me.
That was somebody else.
Someone else wearing the mullet. It was the person before who was wearing the mullet.
wearing a mullet.
That's right. But that is the prefrontal cortex that we develop, from a child into adult, into like saying, well, that's wrong. We can't do that. We have to control that.
Mine is still being developed. You have no idea. It's like
it's work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
It's a very hard work.
So the prefrontal cortex, that's the good guy.
That's the sensible guy. That's like the big brother.
Yeah, there's always the good and the bad. There's the good angel and there's the devil.
Yeah, and then there's the naughty voice.
There's always, right? You can't have good without bad and bad without good, right?
That's right.
So the prefrontal cortex is the good one, and then the basal ganglia?
Yeah, the basal ganglia is the one that's the naughty voice saying, go on, do it. Or saying, you know what? You'll never enjoy a night out without a cigarette. You'll never be able to enjoy a meal without dessert. Your life's going to be full of deprivation. You're always going to be hungry. Just think about it. Start next week. That real voice that will tell you anything.
And it will, yeah.
It will set you up to kind of get its next hit. And that was like...
How do you beat that guy up? How do you beat his ass?
Well, here's how you beat it up. And it goes back to the biochemistry. We're going to talk a lot about biochemistry.
Goes back to the biochemistry.
Always about the biochemistry.
You put on a mullet, you do some cartwheels, and you beat that basal ganglia's ass.
That's right. And that's exactly what you're doing with the biochemistry, with the science, until you bring it. But it's true, because once you give the brain what it needs, right? So back to those hormonal responses.
Yeah.
Once you give the brain what it needs, it keeps insulin low, so it's not storing everything as fat. It's now beginning to release leptin, which is the satiety hormone, as opposed to Graylien, which is the hunger hormone. So the brain now isn't telling you, you're hungry, have another snack. It's only been 2 hours, you need to eat something. So you're getting rid of the true, brain voice saying, because the body is now getting what it eats. And so when that basal ganglia comes calling your name at 2:30 with a cookie or something, it's a true voice. But then you have this conversation in your head. And this is what I applied to smoking when I realized it was that addictive voice saying, oh, go on, have a cigarette. You'll never have fun again. Come on, life's short. I was like, haha, I've got you, addictive voice. I know why you're doing this. And I know I'm not going to do it this time.
But how did you get to that point?
Because I read a book called Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. And in that book, and I'm pretty strong-willed, and I tried various, willpower and all those things. And by the day 3, you fall off the wagon, you have a puff, and you're back there.
And this applies to we're talking smoking, with smoking, alcohol,
food, sugar,
Yeah.
The harder you go, the harder the drug is, the harder it is. But smoking, as we all know, is a very powerful drug. Nicotine is an incredibly powerful drug. So when I read Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, and I was able to identify the addictive voice and realize that wasn't reality. That was a part of my brain telling me anything to get its next fix. I could rationalize it in that moment. It was hard at the beginning. But every day became easier because it was a bit like you're trying to get one over on me, but I know what you're trying to do. It's a bit like a child, when your child's like, but Mummy, can I have this? If I do this,
I'm trying to get one over on you right now.
There you go. Then I'm not sure how to take that. I'll just move on from that. Maybe it's a different meaning.
I'm calling myself a child, basically.
Oh, I see.
That's what I'm calling myself a child.
I see.
I'm not being like...
It has a different meaning in British English.
No, I'm making fun of myself.
I see.
It's good to make fun of yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. So exactly, when you're trying to do that, then you kind of say, "Ha, I've got you," and I'm not gonna let you get away with it.
So it's breaking through. So those first couple days, maybe a couple weeks, with all these addictions, the biochemistry is now real, right? Like it's now like your body is kind of like back to normal. If you could just get rid of the crap out of your system.
Totally.
I know it's easier said than done because Americans, especially Americans, we're having a very hard time.
Yeah.
So I know it's easier said than done, but if you do have the willpower to somehow remove that crap.
Yeah, so you mentioned willpower. It's what you're doing is, if you follow 3 simple rules, you're stacking the odds of success in your favor. And those simple rules are swap refined grains for whole grains, right? So basically you're swapping the whites, whether it's the white flour, the bagel, or the white pasta, or the white rice, you're swapping it for whole grains. Things like, that truly Ezekiel sprouted whole wheat bread that you really have to chew, doesn't melt in your mouth.
Something that's not stripped of its nutrients.
Totally.
Nothing. Basically, what we're saying is nothing that's taken out and nothing that's put in.
That's right.
We're talking about whole foods, meaning the food is intact. It's not messed with. Man has not touched it.
Or minimally touched it. Exactly.
Very.
It's not highly refined and stripped.
Nature doesn't make mistakes.
Totally.
The apple's an apple. It's perfect.
So your cereal box, even if it's oat flakes, that's not what oat looks like.
No.
They're not shiny and glistening like that. And, so the more that is tampered with it, then to your point, you have to add the stuff back in, right? Added with, fortified with this and that.
Yeah, color it, make it look pretty and shiny.
And add the sugar typically also back in to make it taste good.
It's not supposed to, food is not supposed to look so good.
No.
It's supposed to look kind of...
a little ugly.
It's supposed to look a little ugly, right? Like, you ever see those apples that are, like, so shiny and red?
That's right.
It's like they just don't
They look like they come from Disney.
They just don't look like that.
That's right.
Well, they do now, but they're not really supposed to look like that.
That's right. So those 3 simple rules are eat whole, like less refined, more whole grains. Just get the added sugar out. And that's the tough one, frankly, for people, is getting that sugar out.
Yeah.
And not just in the places...
Maybe get it out of your house.
Absolutely, right?
Why even have it in the house?
Well, here's the funny thing.
And we're not, I always want to be careful here.
Yeah.
We're not pushing people. I'm not saying don't have snacks here and there, but make better choices.
Totally.
I'm not saying still eat some cookies and have,
right.
But don't go crazy. Have better...
Well, here's what it is. I think you have to reset. So, we kind of coined this term, reboot your body, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to reset yourself. So it's not to say you'll never have a cookie in your life, or you'll never have, whatever it is that you enjoy, dessert. You will. It's just, you've got to get control back into, you're back in control, and it's not the food that's controlling you through that crappy food cycle, right?
It's the basal ganglia.
The basal ganglia is back in its box, right? It's like back in your box, basal ganglia.
Son of a bitch.
I'm in control here. So that sugar is...
So is that the second one, sugar?
So the sugar is the second one.
Added sugar.
Added sugar. So, carrots have got sugar, have at it,
Yeah,
and
bananas
an
have a lot of
apple,
sugar, mangoes.
Yeah, so you do kind of want to be careful. And here's,
Right.
If people are trying to get sugar out of the body, out of your body, if you're going to have 3 mangoes a day, that's not necessarily the optimal thing. Have one apple a day and have some hummus and carrots, so bring in some other kind of, alternatives.
Sure.
And the third one is introduce more fiber and nutrients into your diet. Why? As we were talking about earlier, fiber dampens that hit. And so where do we find fiber? In plants, right? So let's swap out.
I love the plants. Now we're talking, baby. Because that's
There
the
you
best
go.
stuff on earth.
It is.
Dark
It is.
leafy greens.
Because meat doesn't have fiber. Meat has bones to stand, right? But plants have fiber. Otherwise they're going to be limp and like.
And the bugs inside us eat the fiber.
Totally.
So that's the other thing. So the diversity of greens that we can get because it's got fiber.
That's right.
The bugs
That's
in
right.
us love that stuff.
right.
They'll eat it and they'll multiply. And
And
those
the
are
good stuff wins
those are the
over.
good bugs.
Those are the good ones.
So it's always good and bad, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking the good bugs
Yeah.
want the good real food.
Yeah.
The bad bugs want the added sugar, the junk,
That's
the processed food.
That's right. And the meat as well, which actually kind of often feeds the E. coli in the system. And
That's the meat. Oof.
within 7 days.
This becomes a war when we get into the plant versus meat stuff, right?
And I think everyone has to make their own choices.
Are you
of where they stand.
vegan?
I am.
You are, okay.
I think everyone makes their choice on where they kind of stand on the spectrum, where they sit on the spectrum.
Sure.
This isn't about, one has to be 100% here or there, unless you choose to be that.
Sure.
But what we're talking about is, at the beginning, giving people those right tools, the right advice to stack the odds of success in your favor.
That mullet hair is from a cow, by the way. So that you're not a vegan anymore.
I should stop chewing it.
I'm kidding with you.
It's obviously.
If you're listening to this, Dr. Pinnavaia is wearing a mullet with cow hair.
I
So
think it must be a British cow if it's so ginger.
a British cow.
We have a lot of gingers back in the UK.
So you're really not a true vegan. No, I'm just kidding with you. But yeah, the meat, the whole.
So it's not, this isn't about you have to be, 100%. What we're talking about are the principles, back to those 3 principles, right? Go whole, not refined. Cut out the added sugar and swap some of that animal-based protein for plant-based protein.
Yeah.
Why? We're not talking about because you want to save the cows and the chicken. That is an ethical decision that people will or will not make, but it's because of the health benefits, right? Because you're getting more fiber and more nutrients, and actually you're doing better things to your gut, to the bugs in your gut, by feeding them the greens and beans rather than the meat,
microbiome.
which is inflammatory.
To me, it's the microbiome.
It is.
And they like the fiber. They like the plants.
They need the plants.
That's just the way it is, right?
right.
I mean, it's not my opinion on it.
It's becoming more and more known. In fact,
what
we had a person, and we took, because we're very kind of scientifically based, we had a person that did 28 days of whole food plant-based eating. We took a microbiome test at the beginning of, just before they started, and 28 days later. And it will blow you away what happened in the gut, in all of the bacteria.
Oh, wow.
So inflammation, chronic inflammation, which is the precursor that we have now to so many conditions, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's fatigue, I'm tired, I wish I have a bit more energy, my bones are aching, all the way through to, having that stubborn weight loss, to obesity, and then all the way through to, the chronic diseases, the cardiovascular disease. It's driven by inflammation.
Right.
And that chronic inflammation, and within 28 days with this woman, and we do it also with other people with blood tests, but with this woman in particular, we were testing a microbiome.
So how did you? This is really interesting. So you tested this woman?
Yes.
It was you that tested her?
Yes. Well, we got a kit from a microbiome testing company, but yes.
Okay. It was a blood test.
It was a fecal test. The microbiome is tested from your poo.
No. Yeah. So that's what this was. So and then So before and after she did the 28 days.
28 days.
Because we will get into Euphebe, and you have the 28-day transformation.
Yeah.
So you did the before and after. The before wasn't looking so good, basically.
It was a normal gut, right? Your normal, typical...
Your normal American gut. Your normal American gut, which is
gut.
probably not very good.
It's got too many of... It's not diversified enough, and it doesn't have... It has an imbalance of bad bacteria versus good bacteria, and it often has a lot of E. coli.
Dysbiosis.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Too much of the bad, to put it simply, the bad guys, the bad bugs, too many of those guys,
Yes.
and not enough of the good bugs.
That's right.
We want more good bugs.
Yep.
So what did you find? So it's a fecal test, which
fecal test.
I know it's kind of nasty, but that makes sense because that's
where that's where it's going to come out.
That's where it's going to come out. And then you realized after the 28 days that there's more diversity because she was eating the plants and.
That's right. So she did those three things that I just described, right? She took out all refined grains. She cut out all the sugar, including sweetener, because actually sweetener, we've been brought up in this kind of low-calorie world. Sweetener has a massively negative impact on the microbiome.
All sweeteners?
Yes.
What about stevia?
Same. Messes up the balance of the guts.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
I still do a little bit of stevia. All the sweeteners, do you think?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I kind of agree with you.
And
It's not real, basically. I mean, stevia plant.
That's right. So it's different.
So if I ate a stevia plant,
have you ever had a stevia leaf?
I have. It's good.
Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it?
Yes,
have them out.
I have had a stevia.
It's quite nice. But you wouldn't really have it in your coffee. You'd like chew leaf
right.
and put
It's when we strip it and put stuff in. It's not really stevia.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Right. It's still spiking your insulin, by the way, because even though it's not glucose, the brain tastes the sweet, and so it speaks to the pancreas and says, "Get ready to release insulin. Get ready to release insulin." Anyway, I don't.
Basal ganglia. It's got.
Well, the basal ganglia is the dopamine, like, oh, this is nice. I'm going to enjoy this. I
Right.
want more of that. But we did three things with her, right? So we took our whole grains, no refined grains. We took out all of the sweeteners, and she cut out meat and brought in the beans and the greens, right? And that's an important part. You need to make sure you're getting enough plant-based protein. This isn't about someone eating salads, tomato and iceberg lettuce for 28 days. This is our proper compact meals that have the full range of nutrients. And then we tested her microbiome at the end. And it was just amazing that her chronic inflammation is a marker called high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation, went from 5 down to less than 0.7. Basically, she lost all chronic inflammation, and we saw that in the gut. So we saw all of those negative bacteria, the bad bacteria that show a presence of inflammation, they all disappeared. They all went down to minimal levels.
That's great.
And all of the good stuff, which are, pro-immune system, just increased. So I'm not a microbiome expert, and we had the results interpreted by the biome people, and they said, we've never seen anything like this.
Where would you go to do a microbiome test? Like, for my listeners, and even for me, I'm curious, where would I go? Because now I'm actually curious to actually test my microbiome and then see after, I don't know, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I eat pretty well.
You eat well anyway.
So I would hope and I would think that my microbiome is
is in good
pretty
shape.
good.
Yeah.
But I would be interested in testing it out. So where would you go to test it?
So we used biomehealth.com. So that's BIOHM health.com.
You recommend them?
Yeah, they're brilliant. They've got really good scientists behind them.
Do I have to send in a load of my poop? What do I have to send? Hey, how do you want my crap? You want it FedEx or UPS?
USPS, actually. They use USPS.
They do?
They do. It does get there, though. It's actually not that bad. It's basically you get a large cotton tip, which you can actually use on the toilet paper. I mean, it kind of depends.
Oh, my Lord.
I can't believe we got into this. Anyway, but it's just like a basically large cotton tip, and then it's all very nice and easy.
Drop a deuce and get your microbiome tested.
There you go. There you have the results. So the microbiome is still, we're learning more and more about it. But the link to how it speaks to the brain, how it speaks to the organs, it's all related. I mean, everything's related. Like, just as we were saying earlier, the brain releases the hormones which drive our behavior. It's all one ecosystem.
You do know what podcast you're on. the Hol-Truth Podcast. So you're preaching to the choir.
We're in the right space.
We see eye to eye. No, we are. We're one big computer.
Yeah.
The gut, brain, gut. We're all one big computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all
Well,
relates.
there was also kind of my awakening of, when I came into this, as you read at the beginning, my background is not one of nutrition, at all. I immersed myself into this space. But for me, it was actually driven by an instance of cancer in the family.
Okay.
And I'd ended up, so as I said earlier, my father died young, my mother died of breast cancer, and then my mother-in-law was diagnosed with kidney cancer. I'm like, oh, not again. And so I started reading about food and nutrition. I picked up Dr. Servan Schreiber's The Anti-Cancer Diet, really looking for a silver bullet, beyond just the let's hope the chemo works.
So these unfortunate events were the
catalyst. To taking me into, chemotherapy is great. And actually, by the way, chemotherapy saved my mother-in-law, and, she's alive and she's well, and that's fabulous.
Great.
But at the time, it's like, it was more for me, like, I want to help. I want to do something. What else is there that we can do?
Right. And that's why I got into it. Same thing. My dad died of brain cancer and he had Parkinson's, and that was the catalyst.
Right.
It's always kind of been in me. I've always been into health and wellness,
Right.
but there's always been that question of,
I'm so sorry.
could this? No, thank you.
Yeah.
And there's always that question, like, what could we have done?
Right.
And I'm not really quite sure. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, but there's always been that something in me where it was like, is there a better way?
Yeah.
And can't we do something about this?
Exactly.
And do we have to really be so sick in this country? I mean, and I've always been disappointed with the way we've handled things in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like big business, and it's like you get stuck on pills, and this is the way you go. Right. You go to the hospital and you don't come out.
That's right.
I mean, that's harsh to say that, but you don't get better. You don't typically get better.
It depends. You're right, but it also depends, right? I mean, my husband the other day had pneumonia, and if they hadn't given him that antibiotic, he probably would have died, in a different era. So medicine is wonderful in something, but the chronic disease, the chronic epidemic...
I should have backed that. Yeah. If you get hit by a bus, if you have a broken leg...
Fabulous.
Yes,
And that's even for cancer, oncologists, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And the analogy I have, it's a bit like being a fireman, right? So you have cancer, you go to the oncologist, and the oncologist role is like, let's put out the fire, right? Let's bombard you with the chemotherapy to try and control this. And that's very different. The oncologist in that moment isn't thinking about the prevention before or the prevention after. He or she may or may not have views on that. Their job is to put out the fire.
That's their job.
That's their job. They need to figure out what is the cutting edge research and do that well. So
they're not thinking about whether it might come back or not. It's
not in that moment.
Not in that moment.
That's right. They have to contain and suppress as much as they can.
But there's always that underlying root cause of, this is what I never understood. There's the why did this happen in the first place, and how do we prevent it from coming back?
And that was my learning from Dr. Servan Schreiber's.
Doesn't that make sense? Why don't we find what the root cause is?
Right. And we know that genes play a really important role in cancer.
But you can turn those off.
They certainly do get switched on and off, and genes change very quickly.
With diet?
With diet. So we have those, back to kind of the whole truth, right? Those 4 pillars. So you've got diet, you've got toxicity in our environment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You've got our brain health, so, mental stress and our brain health. And then we've got our physical kind of exercise. So those are the 4 pillars. But they're all, and maybe environmental toxicity is slightly different, but certainly food, so nutrition, mental health, and exercise are all related, with food being the driver.
Yeah.
Because it's the most important one, because we're making that decision multiple times a day. And if we're making the wrong decision, we're poisoning ourselves, which impacts our brain, gives us stress, makes us feel sluggish. We're not going to get ourselves to the gym if we're poisoning ourselves. So it is all one.
It's crazy, because if one thing is off, it screws up everything.
Right.
For me, let me speak for myself. For Thanksgiving, like I had like a little bit of. I didn't have too much. I didn't go crazy, but I ate a little bit of junk. You know, it was like downtime with the family, and that's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, uh-oh.
Right. I know, like it's really quick, right?
And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing. It is a good thing. You know, the football is on. I love football. That comes on, and it's like an automatic.
Yeah.
You know, eat some junk, and it happens quick. And after like 2 days off of eating, it's like the basal ganglia or the dopamine, that fake dopamine hit.
That's right.
The fake dopamine hit is like, ooh yeah, baby.
I remember this. I like this.
This is good. I like this.
Yeah.
And then you get on this roll, and then it's like, whoa, if I don't stop this quick.
Right. But so that was going to be my question. After like 2 days, how'd you feel?
I felt like shit.
You feel like shit.
I felt like shit.
Right.
And that's why I try to tell myself, hey, John, remember how you're going to feel after you do this.
Yeah.
Just, it's not worth it for me. For me, it's just not worth it. At the time, it's great. It's like, it's the dopamine hit.
Yeah,
baby, we're good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You drink alcohol, you're good.
Yeah.
Next morning.
You feel like shit.
Woo. And, hey, to each his own.
Yeah.
You know, God bless you, whatever you want to do. But for me, I don't want to get there.
Yeah.
Like I'm good. Like give me the real food that's gonna support my body, and I'll kind of keep it going as much as I can. I can't go crazy and just eat dark leafy greens and apples and Brazilian nuts all day.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I like to stay on that because that's what supports me.
So that's what we're trying to help people experience, right? Because if once you've changed, right? So the change is the hard.
Once you feel good, you're like,
once
whoa.
you feel good, once you get into that space, and that happens also with exercise, right? There's nothing worse at the beginning, like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. But once you get into it, like, I want to.
Yeah.
And it's the same with food, and that is so much a part of kind of where we're spending our time and energy to say, look, I know it seems overwhelming at the beginning, and you feel like it's going to be a really awful way of eating, but once you get into it, you feel great.
Yeah.
You feel euphoric. You feel better. You've got more energy. Like almost like trust us, right? Remember that addictive voice that's giving you all the reasons why you shouldn't do this because it's like, oh, my life's going to be awful. I'm going to be hungry. You're not. It might be difficult for a little bit, like it was kind of even when I was stopping smoking, even though I could rationalize one side to the other. But how many ex-smokers do you know that really wish they were still standing outside the building in the winter of winter having a cigarette? You have a kind of close affection to it. It's a bit like an ex-boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's like, oh, I remember those fun nights and I used to smoke a lot, but it's like, I'm so glad I'm not going out with them anymore. It's that kind of relationship that one has.
Yeah.
And it's the same with food. It's, but once you go across the abyss and you get to the other side, you feel so good.
Yeah.
You don't want to go back. You don't live a life of deprivation.
You don't realize how good you can feel.
Totally.
It's amazing because, like, I used to eat a lot of animal products. I used to eat a lot of food, chicken, beef.
Are you vegetarian now? Or?
I am practically vegan. I will eat a little bit of organic chicken, a little bit of organic turkey, and a little bit of wild fish. Yeah. Hopefully it comes from Alaska.
Yeah.
It's supposedly they say it's from Alaska, so it doesn't have a lot of mercury in it.
That's right.
So wild salmon is what I do. Yeah. Because it's a small fish and there's less mercury. I don't do much. Right. So technically, am I a vegan? No, technically I'm not. Yeah. I was for 7 years. Yeah. I touched nothing. Yeah. Nothing. I don't do dairy. I stay away from the troublemakers. Yeah. Soy, corn, dairy, gluten. I just don't bother. Right. It just doesn't. There's nothing beneficial. Yeah.
We'll come back to the gluten conversation and the soy conversation because we'll come back to that.
To me, it's just not worth it. Yeah. There's just too much trouble involved. Yeah. And I just say, okay, I'm gonna avoid it and I just get rid of it. Yeah. So mainly plants. Yeah. Mainly plants, plant-based diet and nuts, beans, greens and beans, as you would say, greens and beans. That works for me. Yeah. And I want to make sure, I want to be careful. Part of this is to educate, but also to empower, inspire. So I do want to make sure that I'm not, with you and any other of my guests, that I'm making people feel bad. Because that's not what I want to do. Yeah. That's not the purpose. Yeah. The purpose is to get people healthy.
The courage. The courage to say, look, it can seem overwhelming, but give it a shot because you're going to feel better
Yeah.
and you're empowered. It's back to that kind of where we started this conversation of if you're caught in that loop, you feel like you're always kind of failing, like, oh, I know I should eat less and I should do this and that. But once you understand what's driving the brain, once you can kind of break through of that, you're free.
Yeah, but we also, I have to always remind myself to not be pushy on what I do.
Yeah, totally.
Because that could really piss people off.
Yeah.
I know that because I think I've done plenty of it. So, oh, do this, do that. Oh, man, you cannot tell people what to do.
Yeah.
So you just cannot tell. It does not work.
Yeah.
I'm saying what I do.
Yeah.
It works for me.
Yeah.
And I do believe that we're all different. We're all different. We have all different genes. We're different sizes, different shapes. For the most part, there's certain foods that our bodies want, which are the whole foods.
Yeah.
And certain things that pretty much
we
aren't.
don't.
So yeah, the chemical-laden foods, the processed foods, which really, they're chemicals. They're not really food, which their bodies don't want.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, that's the whole part where I'm going to say, do what works for you.
Yeah, that's right.
And I want to see change. I do want people to get healthy and I want to inspire them.
And it goes back to what you're saying. It's an individual choice that everyone has. So, because of my background, losing my parents, I actually ended up having children, quite late. And I want to be around for them. I was stripped of my father at a really young age, and I lost my mother relatively young as well. Yeah. I don't want to put that pain on my children. I want to be around for my children. So that when I learnt about this, it was like, given I've got cancer in the family, I said, I want to do everything I possibly can to improve my chances of success, right? I might get hit, by a truck, whatever, when I'm doing my cartwheels out of here.
I was just going to say.
And that would be unfortunate. But things that are in my control, where it's a good payoff profile,
right?
I want to do that, and I think so. Everyone, it's about what you want. And I guess where I come to is when I see people that struggle with their health or struggle even more than the weight, but it's more that psychological thing of like, I don't feel good about myself. I've lost my self-esteem. Like, why can't I do this? Why is it so hard? It must be me. I'm weak-willed. It's not you.
Yeah, no.
It's unfortunately the food industry has stacked us up, has set us up for failure.
To stack the odds.
To stack the odds against us. So what I want to do is empower people to say, look, you've got this. You've got this. And there's a transition period, and it's not simple because we know things aren't simple, but give it a go because it's really easy afterwards and you're free. You're free.
I've been there. And I have the same kind of background. I mean, my mom's still around, but my dad, like I said, my dad died of brain cancer and Parkinson's. He had Parkinson's at the same time. And I had the same thing that you thought. I was like, this can't happen to me.
Yeah.
Like, I have 3 kids. Like, I'm 44. Like, I have to live a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And I've got to put the food in my body that my body wants to make sure that I am around.
Yeah.
I've got to, that's how I feel. Like, it was very unfortunate when it happened, but it's always been in me.
Yeah.
And it's never gone away.
How old were you when your father died?
It would have been 2003. So.
Oh, same as my mum died in 2003.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were.
Yeah, I'm 44 now, so that's.
Yeah, you were
29.
You were 29.
29. I have the quick math. Yeah, I was 29.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want. Like, you know what? That saddens me. Like, I don't want to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you say that just doesn't have to happen.
I know.
Because you know what? It's just sad. Because it does not have to happen, and it doesn't happen in a lot of places in the world.
I know.
Those blue zones. I mean, they're coined blue zones, but there's areas where they're social and they eat. plants and
Well, it's back to those those 4 pillars, right? And,
Yeah.
And actually, in the blue zones, there's the 5th pillar as well, which you've just mentioned. That community, that the social, being needed, being part of that community, which has and you can argue that is the mental health, right? You're not alone.
We're social
you're
creatures.
loved. We're social creatures. So we're happy. We're fundamentally kind of happy and serene inside.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there is tragedy. I mean, there's tragedy of a 6-year-old that dies of cancer. That's not. I don't want people to think, oh, it's my fault that I've got cancer. It's not. It's a tragedy. It's we live around it. But there are some forms that we can control. We can keep our immune system strong.
Yes.
Which increases our chances of suppressing rogue cell growth because they're strong, and increases our chances of success.
I'm with you. That's why you're here. That's why, we're on the same page. That's why I'm doing this. And
that's right. Well, I love what you're doing. So.
I love what you're doing. And you know what? I love the passion. And that's why I have people like you on the show, because it's awesome. It's authentic. It's real. And, it's organic. And it's green. And it's green beans. So, all right. So enough of the doom and gloom. How many push-ups can you do? You want to do a plank or you want to do push-ups?
I could do either. What do you want to do?
Can you do 50 push-ups?
No.
Can you do...
I could do...
No, let's do plank.
I can do plank. I can do a 90-second plank.
90?
Is that too little?
See, I have to inspire you. Part of the show is inspiring you.
Right.
Okay, you got at least 2 minutes.
You want me to do 2 minutes?
Oh, easily. Come on, you can do it.
All right.
The record is what? 3
minutes.
3 minutes and 7 seconds, and it is it Reggie?
Yeah,
it's Reggie Flimlin.
Well, I tell you
from
what,
Juice Basin.
Bring me back in a year's time and I'll beat Reggie.
Reggie has the record at 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Can you beat that?
No. No, I can't.
Hey,
no,
wait, you have to tell your brain. We have to retrain your brain.
Don't
say no. Say yes. You have that basal ganglia going on now.
I'm not sure it's the basal ganglia, it's the abs. It's the lack of abs.
No, it's not.
I just ran the marathon a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. You did really run a marathon?
I did.
Which one? In New York City?
New York City.
Woo! Okay, well.
So
that's no joke.
But now my next 4 months is like work on the core, because I ran it because I've got good quads, but everything else.
Okay, so no, that's no joke. Congratulations on running the marathon.
Thank you.
Still, you got to give me a 2-minute plank.
I'll do a 2-minute plank. Are
While
you doing it? Was it what am I? What are you doing?
Well, no, I worked out. I ran this morning. I'm done. I plank. I plank pretty much every day. I do it like.
How long do you do? Why haven't you got the record?
3 minutes. I do about 3 minutes.
Come on, you got to beat Reggie.
I could beat Reggie, but I do about. I kind of.
You just want to make him feel good.
No, well, she.
Oh, she.
It's all good. You know what? I can be an extremist. So I've done 2 marathons and I've done an Ironman, and I kind of have.
Do an Ironman.
I don't know if you want to do that.
Oh, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, talk about addictive. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like I started with like the short mini triathlons, and then it was like that's not enough. That's not enough. You know, when I talk about like the dopamine, it's like oh yeah.
Get him doing more.
Oh yeah.
I just don't have time to train. I mean, I think
crazy.
with enough, it's a huge commitment.
Oh,
I can't
my
do it
gosh.
now in my life. Maybe 15 years.
You know what? It was great. I loved it. But my point is that I can be an extremist.
Right.
So I actually try to do. So when I do a plank, I do a 3-minute plank, and I kind of need to get my brain saying, "You're good." Kind of like you're good. Like you're not. Like 45 minutes to an hour of working out. Like I'm good. I'm in that zone where I feel good. I need to tell myself, John, that's enough. Like you
right, you go home now.
You need to leave. You need to leave now, because I could easily work out for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because I like working out. But that's not also good for your body either. You can overdo it on anything, right?
Yeah.
So all right, do your 2-minute plank. 2-minute plank, but you got to tell me about Euphebe. So you founded Euphebe, and I want you to tell me about your company. I want you to tell me how you. But while you're doing the plank.
No way.
Yes,
no,
yes.
I can't.
You have to talk while you're doing the plank. Absolutely.
That will make you
No, you do. But you got to stay near the microphone.
How do I?
I'll move it down, move the chair over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to tell me about Euphebe.
Ridiculous.
Dr. Pinnavaia.
Might not come again.
Dr.
I was
Nadia.
looking forward to coming back.
Dr. Nadja Pinnavaia is going to do a 2-minute plank. She's going to tell us about Euphebe.
Oh God, in 2 minutes.
She's got the 28-day transformation, which will be hard in the beginning because it is a transformation. So you're getting rid of some of the gook But then when you come out of it,
Yeah,
ooh,
but
baby.
that first week,
Yeah.
you've got radical results.
Yeah.
So in that first week, when people go Euphebe, they lose anything. And not that it's all about weight loss. It's just weight loss is the easiest thing to measure on the outside.
Yeah. Well, you can't see someone's brain.
As a function of what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
But anything from 3 to 8 pounds, boom, first week.
Nice. I love it. I got to hear about it. Yeah, no.
what am I
Save
doing?
it. Save it for the plank right there.
Yeah.
But you got it
I need
tight.
the
Tight.
timer.
The tuchus has got to be down.
Yeah,
No,
John's got the timer.
no,
I need to see the
no
timer
downward
as well.
dog. This is not yoga. The tuchus has got to go down.
Maybe stays up. I'll try.
A tight tuchus.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'd done my homework. I might have not said yes to this podcast.
You can do it.
All right.
All right.
Here we go. So what's the actual question? Tell me about you, Phoebe. 2 minutes while I plank.
Okay, are you
No.
planking?
I'm not yet because I'm putting on my timer. I need to see.
Oh, you're putting on your own timer.
Yeah, because I need
Okay.
to make sure you're actually doing 2 minutes and not more.
Why are you laying on the floor? You know, there's a seat, by the way. You don't have to be laying on the floor.
On the plank.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you.
I'll do a plank on the.
Why does everyone listen to my bullshit? You don't actually. Someone can actually say no and not do it, but everyone ends up doing the plank. That's what surprises
I didn't
me.
know that was an option.
Because you're like a coach. You're like, it's what we have, Coach Euphebe. You listen to when the
Yeah.
coach tells you to do
There's not
something.
one person that's like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care where the hell I am. I'm not
Did
doing
Dr.
it.
Gupta do it?
You're an asshole, and I'm not doing it. Did I make her do it? No, she actually had me on the table. Dr. Vera Gupta actually was.
Because
She
she's
was
a
like,
chiropractor.
she had me on the table. She was like making mincemeat out of me.
Oh, was she?
Oh my God,
And
she
so
had
she
me.
got away with it.
She got away with it because I was like being manipulated, and
You were the guinea pig.
I was.
Did that feel good?
But I'm
do you
gonna-
like my strategy? I'm going to keep talking.
yeah,
so I don't have to
yeah,
do this
exactly.
plan.
No, go.
Go.
48.
All right, here we go.
All right, Euphebe. Tell me about Euphebe. What is so great about Euphebe?
So Euphebe is the easy way to transition from that today's modern diet into a whole food plant-based diet. And how do we do it is because we're doing two things. We are giving the brain what it needs in terms of food. So we're doing the heavy lifting in the kitchen. We are making those real whole food meals. So full of whole grains, no added sugar, doesn't have has a lot of plant-based protein, good for you fat, and they're really tasty, right? So what we're doing there is we're giving the brain the nutrition that it needs. So that's keeping you physically satiated and changing those hormonal responses. But then, alongside of that, we're introducing a coach, a bit like you being the coach telling me to do my plank. And we've got Coach Euphebe,
And you're doing great, by the way.
Thank
Keep it up.
who's there for support. And so every day, so we have a 28-day program. It's called the 28-day Reboot. And that's about transitioning people into the other side, making it as easy as possible, holding their hands. And so every day you get coaching content. So it's almost like a nutrition course. Some of the things that we've been talking about, we talk about what is fiber? What's the difference between soluble, insoluble? Why is it important? We talk about the microbiome. So there's education with it, but there's also 24/7 support. So at 10 o'clock at night, when that Haagen-Dazs is calling your name, and it is hard because it's the basal ganglia prompting you, we're literally there. We're at the end of another chat line where we're there to say, look, I know it's hard, but you know what you're going to do? You're going to have an apple. You've got those tangerines that you've kept in the fridge. Have one of those. Make yourself a cup of chamomile tea and get yourself to bed. So there's a lot of hand-holding that takes place. So I modeled it because when I understood about that, the dependence and the addiction, if you look at what's successful, whether it's AA or CA, it's having, part of that community. You realize that I've gone through 2 minutes, don't you?
You're doing great. See that? The brain, you got to trick the brain. You just tricked
I've just
the brain.
tricked the brain. No, you can't talk about it. Let's go back to Euphebe.
Okay, go back to Euphebe.
I'm starting to shake.
Get the record.
So when you understand the dependency and you understand the role of support and community, we apply that to food because food's no different. It's no different from...
But that's interesting. Let me just cut you. So you have a chat support. So if I want Haagen-Dazs at 10 o'clock at night, so there's someone there that will actually talk me off the cliff from Haagen-Dazs?
Yes.
24/7?
Well, pretty much till 11 o'clock at night. Went from like 6 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night.
You're almost at 3 minutes.
I
Can
know,
you get,
I'm gonna beat Reggie.
You can get this record. You're
Of
at
course
two.
I'm going to beat Reggie at
What's
this
your?
point.
My clock's at 2:53. What's yours at?
I'm at 2:54. Yeah.
You get the record.
Oh, gosh.
Get the record. Get it.
Yeah, so we're there literally and like chatting to a friend, like texting someone to a friend. So we're there, and that's been hugely effective, because when people go through, I am through.
You did great. I love it.
I'm going to keep going just because I'm.
Look at this.
competitive.
She's at 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Okay, I'm calling it.
Oh my gosh, that's 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Great job.
Tell me it's more than just Reggie has done this. Is that you only had 2 people ever do the
Reggie Flimlin is the first person that's ever done the playing contest. You're the second.
And I'm the second, exactly.
You now have the record.
Oh, super.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not true. We've had about 10. We've had like 10 people do the plank. Yeah, Carolyn DeSena did 3.
I didn't think I'd be able to do that.
Did you see that, Paul? Did you see that though?
I saw that. It's amazing, right?
But
what
seriously,
the brain can do.
So I asked you.
Yes.
You said 90 seconds.
Yeah. Oh.
You said 90 seconds. Then I said, no, you could do 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'll do 2 minutes. And then you did 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
Boom. Just
You
like
went from, but seriously, but that's the brain.
that is the
You
brain.
told yourself 90 seconds. And you know what? If you stayed with that attitude, that piss poor attitude, with your mullet.
I was quite impressed with my 90 seconds.
You would have had 90 seconds and you would have just given up.
That's right.
But if you have a little bit of a push,
Yeah.
and you did it. I didn't do You did it. I didn't do a
Yeah.
damn thing.
Yeah.
But that was awesome.
Yeah. I was also talking about my favourite thing in the whole world, which is Euphebe. Or one of my favourite things in the world.
That was great.
Very distracted.
And then you talked. You spoke well during that plank. That was
But
great.
so I think having the coaching. So our goal is to get people to the other side, right? And it takes 28 days. Does it take a week? Takes more than a week. Because in the first week, people are really excited and, they're like, okay, I've got this. And you can stretch things a week, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to stretch a week, but most people can stretch it a week. Week 2 is actually the hardest week.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me when we first met.
Because,
Why is that?
Because then week 2, it's a bit like, you start to remember the old things and, the novelty's worn off a little bit, because you've done it for a week. And then in terms of kind of monitoring your progress, so that first week, there's a lot of kind of radical change that happens.
I think your body adapts a little bit.
And then it hits something. It's a physiological thing called the set point. Are you familiar with the set point?
Yeah.
So it's, your body, the kind of the weight resets while the body and brain goes, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so people that are really excited, they go, oh, it's not working anymore. What's the point of doing it? It's like, no, it is. It's just you're having, the body is just resetting. Just give it time. And that can be a bit disheartening for some people if that's what they're kind of looking at, the scale. But you focus on how you're feeling. You feel better. Your clothes feel looser. Your skin's changing. People start to say to you, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You look really well. And then in terms of kind of that weight loss, it then starts to go to ching, 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 ching. Again, there's like 3 and 4 weeks. And by the time you've done 4 weeks, you've now know what to eat. You've gone out to restaurants. Again, Coach Euphebe is there. It's like, what am I going to eat at this restaurant? And we text people back and say, I've looked at the menu. These are the things.
So if I'm at a restaurant and I text, who would I text? Like
You'd get our app and you would come through to either me or Kristen, or we have also registered dietitians on staff.
Wow. So I'm at a restaurant. I'm confused. I'm like, oh boy, there's a lot of good stuff here. Okay, Dr. Pinnavaia, what do I eat? And then boom.
Yeah,
How long
Coach
do I get?
Phoebe, yeah. It's normally within 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
30 seconds or a minute. We're there. It's like a helpline.
That's great. So how many people do you have like on it, like ready to text back?
How many coaches do we have?
Yeah.
We've got, at the moment we've got 3 coaches, but, we're all, and not everyone is texting at the same time. Funnily enough, the most common times to get messages is in the evening, between 8 and 10 o'clock at night.
Really? When things have calmed down and...
I think the big difficulty people have is kind of the evening, the nighttime eating. They've had the meal, and it's related as well to your routine. And if you're going to bed late, some people go to bed really, really late, and so they've had dinner at 7 o'clock or something, and then it gets to 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night, and they go, I need a snack. And then that's when they raid the fridge. We're like, okay, well, how about you go to bed?
I'm being kind of silly because everyone's got, but it's like,
Yeah, right.
okay, let's figure out an alternative to the Haagen-Dazs or the mozzarella sticks that you normally hit, and then let's try and build another routine in, because I also read a huge amount about habits and how the brain works on habits, but it's really quick to form a habit, but it can be quick to form a new habit as well, right? Yeah. And so rather than saying no the whole time, you just figure out, you recognize the trigger. You still want to give a reward, because if you just deny the whole time, you'll go crazy. But you just change the pathway, right? So instead of the reward being something sweet, it might be, an apple, which is still sweet, or a cup of tea, which doesn't sound as exciting, but there's still a routine that you're building in. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, and then I'm going to go downstairs and go to bed and brush my teeth. Do you see what I mean?
Probably going to wet the bed if it's hot tea. Then you're going to wake up and mess up your sleep cycle. I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking with you, but I get it. Yeah. It makes sense. But that's interesting. So 8 to 10. Yeah, so it tends to be like a habit. It's just a habit of just a routine of this is when I do what I do.
And just having, it's accountability as well, right? It's what you're saying about, I'm your coach, get down there, give me 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just knowing that there is someone, Coach Euphebe on the line who actually, we do care. We get to know our clients individually. We onboard them when they sign up. We understand what they're doing this for. There's a huge amount of hand-holding. So just knowing that you've built a relationship with someone, they're like, okay,
you don't want to let them down.
Focused. Yeah.
So walk me through it one more time. So, all right, if I want to sign up for Euphebe, it's EUPHEBE, right?
Yes.
Euphebe.
Yeah.
EUPHEBE, Euphebe.
Yeah.
So is it euphebe.com?
That is, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so then what would I need to do once I get to euphebe.com?
You scroll down and we've got our signature Reboot program, the 28-day program.
Okay.
So you can look at our menus. So each week, when you sign up, you'll receive 4 deliveries per each week you get a delivery of a box which contains the meals. And then you start receiving the coaching as well. So you sign up, you start to get an ebook, which is a booklet which tells you a little bit, more about the program. It gives you, because we're doing lunches and dinners, so it gives you some breakfast, snack, and side salad suggestions.
Okay.
Gets you into the groove, into the mood of it all. Then you we do deliveries from our kitchen in Brooklyn on a Monday. We ship nationwide, but they leave our facility on a Monday. So you receive your box, depending on where you live, either Tuesday or Wednesday. In New Jersey, you get it on a Tuesday.
And when you get it, when you start? Or can you start when you want?
You can kind of start when you want. We cook our food fresh. We freeze it. And that's really to preserve the integrity and the quality.
Okay, so this is important. So the food is cooked in the kitchen?
Yes.
In Brooklyn?
Yeah, by our Natural Gourmet Institute chefs.
Awesome. And then it's frozen?
Yes.
Okay, to preserve it.
That's right.
Okay, then shipped out.
That's right.
Gotcha.
So we're cooking kind of 1 week, 10 days ahead of time. So our chefs will start cooking on the Thursday 10 days before for the week coming, which they'll finish on that Thursday the following week. Everything gets boxed and put in these nice boxes on the Friday, and then it leaves our facility on a Monday. So that's kind of our cycle.
Where do the vegetables come from?
We work with local providers. So we work with Baldor, who's one of our providers, who aggregates from local farms and organic farms around us.
Okay.
We also work with Ace Natural and source kind of organic legumes and beans and things from there.
That's great.
So we're not certified 100% organic just because if you have one ingredient, but we are organic and local wherever we can be.
Yeah, and it's also very expensive to be certified organic and...
It's just, if we have that one thing that isn't organic, then it just throws everything out. But we are essentially kind of organic, local. And organic.
Yes, real food. And you brought me something.
I did.
So,
do you want to see?
I do. I want to see. What did you bring me?
So I was in the kitchen on Monday, and I prepared for you a box of some of my favorite meals.
Do you want to
see?
You're so sweet. I love it.
I hope you like them. Okay, but we're going to talk about the gluten. So here's our position on gluten. I didn't know that you didn't eat gluten. So we have this kind of gluten-free trend/epidemic. So we are seeing people that are having more intolerance towards what people think is gluten. But gluten, as we know, is the protein in wheat, right? But a lot of that intolerance and that inflammation and that bloat isn't actually necessarily coming from the gluten. It's coming from the refined nature of what's happening to those grains.
Right.
And we see that because when we don't use any refined grains, but when we give someone farro, which is like spelt the Italian, it's wheat, they don't manifest, unless they're celiac or unless they have a very, very strong intolerance, they don't manifest those same things. So
it's the refined nature of the gluten?
Yeah, and then what happens, a lot of people that go gluten-free because they think they're doing a good thing, you end up just having highly processed rice flour with a lot of sugar and crap back into it.
But what's the benefit of gluten? Is there any benefit to gluten? Like, is there anything that it's giving my body
of course. It's protein. It's a natural protein.
Can't I get that from the plant protein? Isn't that enough?
Well, you can get it from a bean, right? But whole grains have nutrients in them. It's a powerhouse. It's got the endosperm. It's got a lot of nutrition in it. So gluten is not the enemy unless you're celiac, right?
Okay.
The enemy is refined flour.
Refined.
So and we obviously have gluten-free meals. We cater for gluten-free people. We accommodate allergies. But we really encourage people, unless you are celiac or you have a proven intolerance to gluten, to eat things like...
Or is it GMO gluten?
It could also be GMO. I mean, when I came to this country, and I'm Italian, and I was buying Barilla, and I think Barilla's now changed, but it's not made in Italy anymore. And it was just like, I felt weird, and now I buy imported De Cecco pasta if I'm going to eat pasta, because I won't eat GMO wheat.
Yeah, because in Europe, my wife's from Poland, like they eat gluten, and I don't think they're like, what are you talking about? Gluten.
But
they don't have any gluten problems.
That's what I'm saying. This epidemic that we have is because...
But is it the GMO? Like they've changed
It could be the GMO. I mean,
Who knows, right?
I don't know that, so I find it hard to say. Mine's more observational. It's that refined, industry-produced wheat that in Europe, as we know, we have more stringent rules over what you can do with seeds and pesticides. Europe? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Europe's got it together.
Europe has it together.
They do.
Even in pesticides, maybe it's the pesticides. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, I know. It's interesting.
But when you go to whole grains, things like farro or barley, because they're not so mass-produced, you're not getting those same manifestations of discomfort.
I think it comes down to this. If man made it, don't eat it. Like when we touch something, we screw it up.
That's right.
So basically, we can kind of like, who knows, right? With the who knows? Maybe it's the GMO, maybe it's not the GMO, maybe it's refined.
Yeah.
Leave it be.
Yeah.
The food is perfect. Mother Nature didn't make a mistake. If it's an apple and it comes from the tree,
that's right.
It's good for your body.
I know.
Just leave it.
I know.
We got to mess with everything. We got to tinker with everything. Just leave it alone.
Because everyone's taking a piece of the pie, right?
Right.
I mean, what we've done in the food process is we've optimized and maximized for efficiency and for corporate profits at the expense of human health.
And you can't patent nature.
You can't.
You can't patent
Look,
an apple or broccoli.
The results that we get on Euphebe. So we spoke about... The results that get people excited is, people lose 9 pounds in 28 days. They lose 2 inches off the waist. That's, consistent, off that, because it's the visceral fat. It's the bad stuff that lives here. But medically speaking, clinically speaking, we see a 41-point drop in elevated LDL. That's equivalent to taking people off statins. We reverse pre-diabetes in a month. We reverse type 2 diabetes in less than 3 months. We take people off blood pressure medication.
Type 2 diabetes?
Yes. We took a lady down from, and we've done it many times, but the one that we've actually captured the blood work for.
I love this.
She was at 8.9 after 18 days of Euphebe eating. Her A1C, her blood sugar went down to 7.1. Within less than 3 months, she was at 5.6, and her doctor said, "You're no longer diabetic. You don't need to take any more medication."
That's so cool. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. So,
You deserve a pat in the back. I mean, this is your business and you're making money, but this is the way to do it. You're helping people. You're helping people.
If this were a pill, right, the cost of Euphebe is $24 a day, and that includes meals, right? However, I would posit that if Euphebe were a pill, and I said, take this pill for 28 days, it's going to cost you $24. And by the way, you may get some free food or not, whatever, $24. People would spend $24 to get those results, to lose weight, to feel better, to look better, to come off statins, to come off blood pressure medication. We would be $1 trillion company. But unfortunately, there's no magic pill. It's just hard work in the kitchen and a little bit of that initial effort. And so that's what Euphebe is about doing. It's saying, look, we recognize at the beginning it's overwhelming. So we're going to make the stuff in the kitchen easy for you. I want you to take a break and not think about that. We've got your back. We're making the food that is going to satisfy your body and brain. I want you to focus on the basal ganglia. Yeah. The voice.
That bad guy.
The bad guy. Saying, I want the crap.
Yes.
And I think we said...
It's a stress-free... It's really they have one thing to focus on.
That's your focus.
But they have the support. They also have, the relationships. They have the primary nutrition.
That's right.
So you have the primary nutrition. You're giving them the relationship, the accountability, the support,
That's
the
right.
love. You're giving them the love.
You're giving them the love.
You care. You have the coaches who care. You get to know them.
Yeah.
And that matters.
And we're also giving them the food that is doing the hard work, right? We started this conversation on the biochemistry. We're giving them food that changes the biochemistry, that changes the behavior.
Yeah.
And so we're putting both of those together to stack the odds.
You're getting me hungry.
I'm hungry as I look. Should I show you what's in the box?
Show me what's in the box.
All right, here we go. So these are some of my favourite things. There's maybe a little bit of a British slant here. So have you ever heard of shepherd's pie? Do you know what shepherd's pie is?
I've heard of shepherd's pie, but I don't really know what it is.
So it's a delicious kind of, comfort food thing. So we make it with the topping, instead of just being kind of mashed potato, it's cauliflower with a sweet potato topping. Ooh. So it's really comforting. It's really delicious.
Oh, I love it.
Then I gave you two of, this is like the classic Euphebe bestseller, the Hippie Brunch Burrito. So it is in a genuine whole wheat tortilla wrap, and inside it's got a stuffing of, it's got black beans in it. Now this does have a little bit of soy in it. But
it's nice and frozen.
It's nice and frozen. So what you do when you get this, you would get it and you take half of it, put it in the fridge so it thaws naturally, and you keep the other half in the freezer. So there's also no food waste going. You don't have things wilting at you and looking at you.
Oh, this looks so good. I am hungry.
I'm hungry as well. So you might have to heat it a little bit. But
roses are red and violets are blue. If you have any sense whatsoever, you'll make Euphebe your food. That's what I would.
I love that. Can I turn that into a jingle?
You opened the box and it made me want to sing.
And that comes with a little thing of green salsa. So you heat that up. You can either microwave. Some people don't like to use a microwave, but you can put it in a toaster oven. 5 minutes, 7 minutes or so, and that's really.
I'm eating this for lunch.
Good.
This is going to be my lunch.
And that comes with green salsa. And then, do you like mushrooms?
This is not just for me, Ming. We have to share her. Ming, my man Ming. Look at this.
Do you like mushrooms?
I love mushrooms.
So we learned that mushrooms, bizarrely, are one of those polarizing things. Most people love them, but there are some people, it's got the biggest gag factor. So there's a small percentage of the population
Some people
that just gag on mushrooms. However, I love mushrooms. So we make a wild mushroom risotto, but it's made with farro.
I like the way you say that.
Risotto. I'm sorry, this is made with brown rice.
So you have an Italian background.
Yeah. I love food.
Yeah.
Food has to taste good, right? So when part of this Euphebe thing is you can't give people horrible food, right? The food has to taste good.
It's got to be good, right?
It's got to, otherwise you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, food is a joy. And that is another myth I want to dispel of food's going to taste awful, I'm going to be hungry, I'm just going to eat lettuce leaves. Like, no, this food is delicious.
It tastes good.
So this is a brown arborio rice risotto with wild mushrooms. But this is the quality that we have cremini, shiitake, and maitake mushrooms. So,
Beautiful.
Wild mushrooms that are coming in there. It's got a little bit of cashew cream. We add great northern white beans. Those are cannellini beans. We puree them
Oh, wow.
to put in there because we make sure that every meal has enough plant-based protein for satiety. Because our goal is to keep you full and satisfied, both from a taste point of view, but also from a body, a nutrition point of view. So we make sure that every meal has enough plant-based protein, has enough calories for satiety. This is not about you going hungry. That's one of my favorites.
Wild mushroom risotto. I can't say risotto like that.
Risotto. But risotto. And then this is, so every week we have a different type of veggie burger. Our menu rotates every week. So when you're doing the 4-week program, you get a different menu. But this is Rachel. She's one of our chefs. Rachel's veggie burger, and it's made with eggplants and white beans.
Beautiful.
And it comes with, I love these. These are sweet potato and parsnip fries. Pop these in the
I love
toaster
sweet potato
oven.
fries.
And they're just gorgeous. And it comes with real ketchup. So we've made ketchup properly from the tomatoes.
Oh, so you like crunched? How did you do that?
We use organic tomato paste.
Okay.
But then we've added our own kind of ingredients as well. There's no kind of sugar in here. It's just, that's why we
Nothing
put
added.
real ketchup. It's proper ketchup. It's
Right,
good for
nothing
you.
added.
And then I bought a seasonal soup just because we're in 'tis the season, and it's a butternut squash soup.
Oh my gosh.
That's made with apples and sage. It's got a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and it comes with toasted pumpkin seeds for a bit of crunch, and again for that satiety to build it up. And I mean, look at that portion size. This is 14 fluid ounces.
Oh, that's plenty.
That's huge.
You don't need a lot of food. You need a lot of nutrients.
You need nutrients. Our
Yeah.
food is nutrient.
We don't
dense.
need mass quantities of food.
That's right.
We just need, and this will fill us. This will fill me up.
Absolutely.
And if I'm mindful and I don't like throw it down my throat, if I'm just actually like, but I'm getting pretty damn hungry. This I can go to town on this.
That's great. And so
And I could be very selfish because this looks so good
and
that
you
I
got
make
to share
I
it
would,
with Ming.
but I have to share it with Ming. That would not be cool.
Ming, I
to,
bought you. I've got some doubles over here. You got Hippie brunch burrito. That's
Ming absolutely gets, and Ming's a foodie, so like he would really be like really upset if I walked out of here. It wouldn't be like he's just like he like loves the food.
Ming, I've got your back. We're gonna get you sorted.
Yeah, you're all set.
So yeah, and that is another thing to dispel as well, because people, the portion sizes don't look small, but then they think automatically like, oh, I'm going to be hungry, and the meals are so nutrient dense that even some of them that may not look huge, you eat them and you're full and you're satiated afterwards.
Yeah.
So. There
Well,
you
that
go.
was beautiful.
It's lunchtime.
It is lunchtime. I'm gonna have some lunch. Thank you very much. It has been an honor and a pleasure. I missed you. I felt like, you know what? I felt like when I first met you, you had that look, you had that passion, you had the smile, and I knew I had to get you in here and do an official. I think we're good for like an hour and 15 minutes. It's been nothing but great. But Dr. Nadja Pinnavaia,
Oh, can I take
Euphebe Healthcare.
take this off?
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, John. I have loved
Stay in
being
touch.
on your
I love what
show.
you're doing.
Thank you so much for
All right.
having me. I look forward to coming to do a 5-minute plank.
There you go. Right, that's a wrap. Adios.